All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Bullen. I'm part of the connected vehicle team here at International Truck. We appreciate you making some time for us this afternoon to get together. I want to start also by thanking Ray Bees and Melinda from Regional International. They've helped today to sculpt this and kind of align our class that we're going to do today. This afternoon, we're going to do a pretty high-level overview of OnCommand Connection. That's our remote diagnostics tool and telematics interface that we have here with International. If we get a lot out of today's class, I would call out that there's a more advanced users level class we're going to do on Thursday. So if you get out of this and you really gain something from it and want to see maybe more deeply how to utilize the tools, we'd invite you to reach out to the folks from Regional and get onto that class, and I'm sure they'd love to add you to it. So what we're going to cover today in today's hour is we're going to take a look at the industry challenges you all as our customers face in kind of wrapping your hands around the technology, both in the truck and then in this telematics space. We're going to look at telematics and OnCommand Connection, our tool, and how they work together, how they're not the same thing and where it comes through. I think we're going to walk through again, a high-level demonstration of the pieces of OnCommand Connection and kind of walk you through a day in the connected life of a customer that's got this technology, and as you onboard it and what it would mean for your fleet management team and your fleet maintenance team. And finally, we're going to get into how to get connected, explain how to leverage existing telematics your company may be using for your safety and compliance and route optimization, or if you don't have products, how to work with the regional team to get loaded in, get connected, and then get into the OnCommand Connection infrastructure. So with that, we'll jump into the challenges, and we put this slide up here. And very early in any training I would do with the customers we onboard is we call out that as you look at your data and when you start seeing trucks, there's a real difference between having a fault and having a problem. So our research over the 7 years, tracking where these things go, looking at not quite 500,000 vehicles that talk to us today, each one of your trucks is going to have this light come on once a year. And what you do with that, how you choose to react or not react, whether your driver even tells you it came on or not, can have a pretty significant impact on the usability of that truck, what repairs you may run into having to do from dealing with it in a timely manner or waiting for it to progress, and where it's going to go. And just at a bare minimum, when it comes on, if you working with your driver will make the decision this needs to come to the shop and we need to get a laptop on it to see what that problem is, you're looking at spending a couple $100 in diagnostics time to get that answer and ask yourself, well, what do I do next? Some of you may not have really seen just how connected vehicles are becoming, but this is kind of a pictogram of what some of our larger national account customers international are into, where you're seeing just proliferation of online connected pieces, similarly the way we see in our home, right? Who'd ever imagined we'd have an internet capable refrigerator? And that's now where we are today with that, and washers and thermostats and everything else. So similarly in our work life, that's happened in the truck. All right, we've baseline telematics has been around, let's call it 30 years. And it really is a cell phone you can't talk on, but now we're tying in cameras both front and rear. We're tying in messaging applications to where, dispatch and all of our bills of lading and whatnot can be sent electronically. Drivers aren't carrying a clipboard anymore, right? We have the compliance applications around ELD, tire pressure monitoring. For our folks that handle food or handle temperature controlled items, certainly within, whether it's a straight truck or a trailer, we're tracking, is that cargo being handled appropriately? Are we holding temperature? So the large national accounts, the folks like the JB Hunts and the Schneiders and Werners and whatnot of the world, when they look at their over the road fleet, they come to us as a connected team and they're like, we have 4 or 5 different cell plans in the truck. When we look at the truck telematics, the trailer telematics, a hotspot potentially for the driver to be able to access, Facebook and his email and YouTube and those sort of things in their bunk time, a handheld scanner perhaps for scanning packages, getting that proof of delivery. And so there's a real need that's been expressed by those kind of clients for us as OEs to kind of try to solve that solution and give them a way to simplify all of that. So we start that path in OnCommand Connection. Like I say, this is our program that's been commercially available for 7 years now. And foundationally, it's about remote diagnostics. It's getting into data that's in that truck right now and representing it in such a way that you can understand it and take action on it. And for the customers that have, worked in themselves, changed how they do things, and start to leverage this data, they start realizing some real savings in maintenance cost, up to 30% we've documented with some of the clients that have been willing to take us behind their curtain and show us the numbers. And so where does that money come from? Well, that's a great question. So this is kind of a financial model of what you look at for somebody that is more an over-the-road trucking company. If you're based regionally or you run local operations and your driver gets home every night, you'd eliminate this $300 line with the downtime pay in the hotels. But the costs add up in a hurry in terms of the principal and interest on the vehicle, the lost revenue opportunities and all that. And again, depending on your segment, there may be on-time delivery fees you lost. You've got transfer, moving cargo from one truck to another, renting a vehicle, whatever it may be. So OnCommand Connection customers using the tools and calling their drivers proactively have seen up to 80% reductions in their breakdowns that would require a tow truck by getting in front of it. And one of our customers that gave a testimonial about it, Reyes Holdings, they're a large beverage hauling company. They looked at their group nationally, and they had one group, Annalise called out here, that we had a baseline. They were having 20 of these roadside tow event breakdowns a month. Getting on OCC, training their team up, changing how they act and react to all this stuff, they've managed to pull that down to 3 per month. So that's some significant savings for that piece of their operation. Called out another way, this connected technology, leveraging what's out there and taking our intelligence. We just kind of walked through the cost savings on getting rid of the tow trucks, but certainly if we use that, we get rid of the breakdowns and we reduce the out of service vehicles. That's real money. Having an insight into the fuel efficiency. How is the driver using that truck? If they've got an automated manual, are they overriding it and kicking it out of the top gear? Are we using cruise control appropriate, whatever? Make some real savings in fuel spend, right? From a fleet safety perspective, maybe we've got some safety managers or somebody that's tied to the safety department, understanding how that vehicle is being driven, the hard braking, the harsh acceleration, how the driver's cornering. There's an opportunity to perhaps give some corrective actions sooner that may prevent, a recordable accident. And that leads me to the CSA violations. There's a piece in here where using OnCommand Connection, you can quickly identify trucks that may have headlight issues or marker light issues. And if you're involved in that segment, I'm sure you understand that those are 2 real easy ways to invite the DOT officer to take a whole lot closer look at that truck. And when I start inspecting, I start finding. And when I find, I go from a $40 bulb to a $400 plus road call with a truck that's been out of service, and I take the CSA hit on the fix-it ticket, right? So there's real opportunities, again, how you turn this data and how you choose to look at it, where you can have some real impacts across your organization. And again, that 30% reduction in your unplanned maintenance and repair costs by taking control, not letting vehicles end up on the side of the road with something that you can see by looking into it. And then also taking the lower level items and scheduling those to where they happen when you've got driver downtime coming, putting them on an RO in preparation for a PM service you have to do soon. Again, really can have an impact on your overall costs. So that takes us to, Dave, you've talked about what we can get. What are the tools that get us there? Well, there's 2 pieces to it. And I made the comment earlier, telematics is a cell phone you can't talk on. So it, like I say, what was Qualcomm, now Omnitracs, really invented this space. And it started out with solving for the problem was, where is my truck? I came into the industry in the early 90s and have strong memories, honestly, of a Qualcomm server being rolled into our offices. And it was, where are these extremely expensive assets? It was about route optimization, making sure we would make deliveries in the right order. It was about if we had a call coming from a customer, could we identify how far out that was? Were we going to make a delivery on time? It was all about location, right? And certainly if you think back to cell phones at that time and compare them where they are now, you can imagine, the exponential change in that. I mean, even in the 2000s, you think about many of us, our first phone may have been the little Motorola Flip or the Nokia brick phone that we played Snake on. Now with an iPhone 12, anything was capable there. Well, that same thing has happened in these devices that get installed in trucks. All right, so those devices now are tied in. In fact, our factory installed telematics hardware, we call it our N2 controller, isn't the bolt-on. It's integrated and it's fully part of the electrical system of the truck. So, some of our partners and then certainly ourselves, we're capturing not just fault codes, but we're capturing idle time, pressures, temperatures, percentages on actuators, and all that data has got to come together. And so the third-party providers, the OmniTraxes, the Geotabs, the PeopleNets, they have the piece that generates that raw data, and then generally operations uses it within your organization. So OnCommand Connection is where we've partnered with that telematics industry to get all of that raw data into us. And then our reliability and quality team as international, right along with those partners that are tier 1 suppliers. So the folks at Cummins, at Eaton, at Allison, at Bendix, at Wabco, and so forth, take that raw data, redistill it, make it something that we can kind of more easily visualize which trucks are our problems, and then give you folks the questions asked the driver to cover my very first slide. Do I have a fault or do I have a problem? And then react to that and take action in an appropriate way. Again, hitting those 4 things: improving that uptime, reducing those maintenance costs, keeping me clean so far as safety and CSA scores. And another benefit, if we do all those things well, potentially improving the driver's experience and your driver retention. A happy driver that's turning miles, making money, they're not going anywhere. So they're not the same. The telematics, again, that side is about the raw data, the cell plan, the connectivity into the truck itself, and then our work as OnCommand Connection, taking that and making it something you can take action on. And then for customers that have bought or are looking to buy a tractor, our LT and RH family trucks have our 2nd generation telematics hardware installed in them. And folks making that decision today, that would get you the connectivity and 5 years of service into OnCommand Connection with these fault codes. And then I'm going to show you here later on in the presentation the other advanced functionality that comes with that, what we call intelligent fleet care. So I spoke about our partnering with the telematics industry. That's what this slide shows. So we've got, like I say, right at 500,000 vehicles sending data into us. We partnered and we're connected up with 33 different telematics providers. So if your company's made the investment, installed the hardware, and you're using somebody's stuff for the route optimization, the safety and compliance, the driver logs and all that, odds are good that we're partnered with those folks. So reach out to your regional sales staff. They'll be able to help you understand, is this the right connectivity or not? And they can help you get enrolled and registered and roll that information into us. If you don't have telematics today, your local haul under the air mile rules haven't had a business case to come up on the other side, well, we do have a solution available for you. I work with our dealers and customers across the US and Canada. We've got some 730 dealers. And where we're fortunate to be here talking today is Regional, as an organization, made an informed decision some time ago to become involved in this connected space, and they're a Geotab reseller. So what that means for you all is you're able to work with the folks at the dealership. They have a complete solution available to you at a reasonable cost that would cover all these pieces. And they would work with you to fine tune what amount of data you need, what you don't need, and get you tied into OnCommand Connection. So if you have a partner, that's great, we have a path. If you need to buy a truck, we've got a path for that. And if you don't have a partner, the folks at Regional have a solution that can go and get installed quickly and get you onboarded to utilize the tools we're going to show you. So it takes us again, to the very heart of OnCommand Connection. There are a lot of tentacles to it that we're going to show later on, but foundationally, it's about the advanced remote diagnostics. It's taking that information, applying our logics to it, and putting it in such a way that you all can understand and take action on it. So with that, I'm ready to go to a live dashboard, do a demonstration, and show you how the tool functions and how a customer would use this. So we'll pause a second while I flip over to that. Now we are showing a live dash. This is a customer that has given us permission to roll, and part of why we're using them is they, are a fleet of pretty good size. They've got all makes, so I've got a number of vehicles, not just mine, in there. They get their telematics information from a number of sources, and so that we're using that so we can show how we can normalize all that data, wrap it up, and present it in one format, whether it's International Truck or not, whether it's my telematics, Geotab telematics, PeopleNet, whatever partner you have, blend all those assets together and give it one presentation for the maintenance and operations folks to look at. Now, as a service guy, I kind of grew up in a world that every truck I talk about is a broken truck, therefore every truck must be broken. So one of the foundational things I want to show you here on the dash, right here in the center of this kind of executive overview of what's going on in the fleet, is out of the not quite 1,100 trucks talking to me, 755, there's nothing any of us have to do a thing about. And that's, like I say, if you're in the maintenance side of an organization, sometimes that's hard to keep track of, right? To remember that there's vehicles doing what they're supposed to do, drivers that are doing all the right things, and they keep on going. Talking my way through the rest of these severities, working my way bottom up, our next bucket up and our next biggest group is what we call service soon. And the way I want you to think about it is what I alluded to earlier. These are faults that are there. Even after you talk to the driver and you determine it's not just a fault, there is a problem associated with it. These aren't items that would ever put a truck on the side of the road. They're not items that lead to progressive damages where you need to worry about other systems being affected. They're not items that are even going to progress within their own cells. So these are the things that you're going to be able to look at, and these are the repairs you're going to schedule when it's convenient for you. My earlier example, the driver's going on home time starting Thursday. I know I got to PM that truck 2 weeks from now. You're going to be able to take that item, assure the driver, while I know you're seeing a light, I understand what it is, and you don't have to worry about it. We can take care of that later. Keep doing what you're doing, take care of our customers, right? Service immediately, by its naming, sounds like I'm asking you to pull over, put that truck on the side of the road, swap drivers, whatever it is. That's not the case. The naming around this level of fault really came from an understanding that in many organizations, the drivers driving trucks or operating these vehicles, they don't get to talk to a service or a technician. They speak to a driver manager, a dispatcher, a operations person of some sort, who many times they don't understand very much about a truck either. But what they do know to do when they get the phone call of this light came on, I heard a funny noise, I'm not sure what to do, is they do know to ask, well, how is it running? And what we've learned over the years is if the driver says anything that sounds like it's running okay, that's the last thing anyone remembers. It's okay, and we just keep driving until 2 days, 3 days, a week from now, we've got a catastrophic failure because we got a lot of progressive damage to it, right? So that service immediately naming really is so if you're in the maintenance side of the organization, you can go back to dispatch and operations and say, I understand you were told it's okay. I'm telling you it's not. We don't need to pull it off and hook it in, but what we need to do is let the driver finish what they're doing today, and then we take action on it here at the end of this day. So if they're en route to a delivery, make that delivery. Don't service fail that customer waiting on that, but then we deal with it now. If that person thought they were coming home, don't bring them home. I don't want to put them on the side of the highway waiting for a tow truck. Let's take care of it where it is. If it's home now, keep it here. Don't dispatch it tomorrow. Get another vehicle, do something with that. Let's fix this while it's one problem, one thing, and it doesn't progress. And then it takes me to my highest severity of stop now, which again, a fault isn't the same as the problem. We're going to show you how in our fault code action plans, we give you the questions to ask the driver to sort out, do you have a problem? These are the trucks that if the driver says something that sounds like, now that you mention it, well, that's the truck we want to recover now. We don't want to use that one anymore if we can avoid it. Now, I talked about we're going to want to give you a show in the walk of a life. If this were our earlier call this morning, we did one at 9 o'clock. I explained to that group and I explained to you, if I walked in, had my coffee, cleaned up my emails or whatever it may be that's my life, my first trick that I would do would be to hit this inactive fault codes tag right here and I would resort it. And so what I'm doing is there are things the driver can do that will have taken one of these faults and made them no longer a pressing issue. The example I'd give is a driver this morning started things up, kicked the truck on, and in the course of doing the pre-trip, realized they were a little bit low on engine oil. So they filled it up. Well, if I had a fault for being slightly low on oil and I topped it, I just made that inactive. So by hitting that and applying that out, I don't know if you saw, but my number dropped to 3. So these are the 3 trucks. If I were working the fleet going after things, these would be the ones I'd want to look at today. So I'm going to click stop now, and that's going to pull us down to a map view of those assets. Some clients, utilize this. You may have a couple, 3 people that would be handling this sort of activity. Rather than break the fleet, you may just assign them to look geographically, where is that problem, and you can get it. Just so I show you this in that map view, I do have the ability to select those same statuses we walked through and a few others that we didn't for timing, but that gives us the ability to kind of use this more as a working page. So if I click on this vehicle here, you can see it pulls up the truck number on it. It calls it that there's a stop now. There's indications that we may have gone into an engine derate. It gives me a location, and then you can see it last checked in with us about 20 minutes ago. All right, what I do want to show really quickly, because sometimes when we show these things to customers, it can be a bit overwhelming at start. We go, how am I going to get my hands on it, Dave? I haven't seen any of this. I've got to learn all these new things, and I really want to streamline it. I want to make it to where, my team doesn't walk away from it before we get going. Well, one of the things we did very early is we made a conscious decision to share this data with our dealer network. So what I'm telling you is if you get on the OnCommand Connection, you get in here and you look and you're not sure what you're reading, what I'm looking at now is the screen our service department uses every day. So I'd invite you to pick up the phone, you call the team at Regional, right? Get back to the service department. Whether I get a service advisor, a foreman, maybe the shop manager, whoever it may be, with the VIN number of the truck, whether it's International Truck or again your all makes product, they're going to be able to get to this page, come to this tab labeled Connection, because they can view every connected vehicle, and look at that health report that I'm about to show you. That's the same one you have, and you can make an informed decision together. Certainly we have an 800 number. I've got people to answer the phone and work it, but the reality for us is, we're the team here in Chicago that builds it, develops it, maintains it. The folks at Regional and the guys back in service are the ones that utilize this data every day. So they're going to be able to help you make the informed decision. You're not going to introduce yourself and explain who you are. You're going to be able to pick up a conversation and go right from there. So let's show you health report. I talked about this is the thing they would look at with you together and be able to walk through it. This is simply the structure we use as a service organization and have for a decade to take all the information off a truck and compile it in a way that's kind of understandable, easy to get through and work its way through it. When we get that information from a telematics device, and this one happens to be fed by Geotab, we kind of handle the data a little differently. And the way I would want you to think about it is the telematics data stream, it's coming in, and in the case of Geotab, between their batch processes and ours, moving all the data, compiling it and whatnot to make changes to this, it's about a 12-minute cycle time. So we're getting a new odometer, new fuel economy, new engine hours. Are the faults active? Are they inactive? How many times have they been active? That's rolling in on that regular basis. So this health report I'm looking at, what we do is compile that data for a week, making all those changes, adjusting all those numbers. And we get to the end of 7 days, think of like a flip chart in a conference room. We're going to tear this off, stick it to the wall so we got it in history, the page I just showed you on the dealer view of the world, and then start writing again. So contextually for me, what I look at is this started recording data off this truck on the 6th at not quite 2 o'clock Central. And like I said, it's current in terms of truck data and pressures and that going back to a little over, well, now we're down to 14 minutes ago. So again, we keep rolling this stuff in on the truck. You come down, and some of our partners, certainly Geotabs One, are able to give us a visualization of what's going on the dashboard. So the last data dump I had on the truck and its operation, I expect to find out that the mill light's turned on. So you call out here, you can see this is got the Cummins ISX or the X15 now. We've got 4 faults ranked it out, things we'll do in terms of count. I get down here to the fault code information, what's going on. I got my 3 actives and I have 1 inactive fault. And you see over here to the left, these are the SAE, the engineering definitions of what these faults mean. My next column, we'll label fault FCAP. We're going to come back to that. FCAP stands for Fault Code Action Plan. SPN, that's the suspect parameter number. Essentially in engineering world, that tells me what the problem is. And then the dash and the number after that, that's the FMI, the failure mode indicator. That's how bad is it? All right, is it active or inactive? Again, making it very visual. What are my counts on those? Single counts of these fault. Looks like I've ticked the derate button twice in the course of that, not quite weak. How bad are those faults? Do they potentially lead to a derate condition? And then some contextual information about when did we first see the problem? When did we last see it get reported? How has it been updating? And what's happening in the background? I mentioned it's our reliability and quality working with Cummins and all those other tier 1 suppliers. These faults would be present plugging in a laptop, plugging in a handheld, however we did that scan, right? As a group, we're all working on what we call synthetic faults. And by synthetic fault, what I'm saying is we're taking a look at the temperatures, the pressures, the weather, where that is right now, the torque demands, everything else it's looking for, and we're starting to make predictions on what may have taken a hit in the course of that vehicle's operation that may not have hit a traditional fault code, may not hit one of these trouble spots. So imagine a day in the not very far future as we've deployed 10 of these, where a truck here, I'm in the Midwest outside of Chicago, it's not quite 40 degrees, flat level ground. The entire state of Illinois is flat level ground for that matter. We're going to react to that vehicle one way. It's now July. I pick up this truck that's here, kind of calmly working its way across Illinois. I put it out in California, park it on the 5. I'm going to go up the Grapevine into the Central Valley, and it's 115 degrees. I might need to respond very differently to that vehicle trying to make that grade than I would the one here working its way across home. So that's coming very quickly, that prognostics piece to us. So let me hit Fault Code Action Plan, and this link now is where we strip things down, simplify it in such a way that a non-technical person can understand what it is. And then if you have your own technicians, start putting the data at their fingertips to more quickly fix the truck. We want to recover this thing faster. The less time it spends in your shop or mine, the more utilization you get out of that asset, the more uptime you've realized. So you can see we've simplified the engineering stuff down to there's an SCR outlet temperature fault. It's a stop now severity. And notice our team, us and Cummins, are calling out, there's no leeway on this. If we talk to the driver and he or she says, yeah, that's happening, well, we need to do something with it, right? Calling out which component it is. It's coming off the X15. That's the ECM family that this is. Giving you quick hyperlinks to our service information system. And then as this is coming, it's taking you to quick serve online. Now you've got to have credentials to get into those systems. We didn't just make everybody's service information free. These hyperlinks also apply to the all makes trucks. So if this had been a Freightliner, and we'd invite you to talk to the sales team at Regional to replace those, we would take you to DTNA Connect. You'd be able to use your credentials and get to that and be able to get to that service information, same way we're carrying you to ours and to Cummins's. And then we give some questions around this fault to ascertain, do I have a fault or do I have a problem? So these are the things, again, that you could have a driver manager or a dispatcher start to ask your driver to, one, learn a whole lot more about what's going on with that truck, and two, to have the right answers when you reach out to the service department to tell them it's coming in and this is what I see is wrong with it. certainly I've been on both sides of the telephone where I didn't have a whole lot of detail to give a shop on when it was coming to them. And then I've been in the shop where essentially what I had was a guy walk in with a set of keys, flip it to me and say, I'm not sure what's wrong, fix it. This is where we take the step to position both of us to have a better experience with it, right? So is the red stop lamp illuminated? Do you see any visible engine oil or fuel leaking into the exhaust system? Are we blowing black smoke? Hey, take the cap off the DEF tank, look in there. Does it look contaminated or cloudy? Have you noticed any change in engine performance? All of these could be no, we still have something to fix, but it changes the intensity, right? So again, giving you the questions, giving you the ability to walk through the fault to sort out, do I have a problem or not? And, I would tell you, it takes someone new to the industry and makes them a whole lot smarter in a hurry in terms of capturing that information that your technician or ours is going to need to actually make the repairs, right? When you think about what all that may be, I'm not answering questions working through it, but it does call out, I could be looking at a bad doser, that 7th injector there that squirts the bit onto the after treatment system to help it burn that stuff off. So again, not having done the work, not having done the diagnostics, we shouldn't have plugged that insight. We need to get insight. We need to let EDS tell us what the problem is. But we've had enough time with this to say there's some certainty this may be where you're looking to make the fix. So again, our team working with our partners, we've written some 18,000 of these. Again, taking those faults, looking at our trucks, looking at the all makes, and stacking that information up for you and our dealers to be able to make a decision and also to make the repairs in a timely manner. So that's a lot. So knowing I've got a problem is one thing, getting it fixed is another. So the other part in OnCommand Connection that we work is, how do I take action? And so we would work with clients, especially in the early days. We would teach them about the fault codes. How do you look at this? How do you think about, here's some questions. They'd know they needed to do something, but then we'd see them on trucknow.com, NTTS's webpage, Cummins' website, ours, working to find the solution to this problem, right? We don't want to drive it home. We know we've got a real issue. Let's clean it up. So what we built, and this may be a little hard to see, so I'll move the map. There's the icon of where the truck is here in the suburbs of Chicago. And again, we know it's an International. We know it's got the X15 in it. So it's highlighted and called out who the International store and who the Cummins distributor is that's nearby. If this had been a Cascadia with a DD15, when we opened this page, it would have pulled those answers up. So you can see at that point, if that's what you're facing, Trans Chicago's the Freightliner store over in Elmhurst, and then Interstate Power is the Detroit diesel distributor in Carroll Stream. So putting the answers really at your fingertips to take control if that asset's not near the house. But this electronic stuff's only so much what you do, right? Every day we get in front of customers where for some reason the driver does not pay attention or can't see that there's a gauge telling them they got low on depth, they didn't fill it. So we've got applications with our friends at TA Petro. We did the same work with our friends at Flying J and Pilot, giving you visibility to who's there in relation to the truck quickly. When I was in fleet breakdown, our tire expenses were 32 to 36% in any given month of what we spent. So again, doing those APIs with the folks at Continental, Bridgestone, Goodyear, and Michelin in one click to have the truck tire centers that accept those national accounts visible to you, making it where you can get to the solution quickly, sort out who's going to be able to help this guy. Trying to put those answers all at your fingertips. And if you end up in a situation where you would need to rent the truck, again, we've worked with our partners at Ryder, at Penske, at Ideal Lease, and National Lease to have those rental vehicles available to you. Again, in a click, who do I call? How do I get that stuff in there? So really a powerful tool around, I've got a problem, how do I fix it? So that's the main elements of, again, our kind of recap dashboard. The second page I'll show you very quickly is what we call our vehicle scans page. It provides the same functionality plus, with the return being that it's really for managing big amounts of data. So you can see I've got the severities we talked about, I've got indicators, detail, I've got faults, I've got a lot more search criteria, and you see it presents the data in a grid. Our system is built in a Microsoft Azure cloud base. So these are all set up with Excel's tools. So I can one-click sort, delete, ascending, descending on any of these columns. I can do a search at what I'm looking for. The other functionality I have here is we have what we call a fault family. And I built a family looking for headlight issues. So you can see this truck is calling out, I've got a left headlight fault. I'm going to go to that FCAP so you can see that really quickly. But again, in terms of having some impact, thinking about how do I clean up my CSA scores? How do I prevent getting those inspections I really don't want? You know, having this report and it run on a scheduled basis, not that I'm clicking and searching for it, having that hit your desk, whether you're in safety or you're in maintenance, being able to go through and, you know, again, two pretty common sense questions, but here's the actual violations you're going to see on that fix-it ticket if we don't get out in front of it at a minimum, right? So, and again, knowing what it is, showing you that it's either the socket or it's the headlamp itself. And as this is also an international truck, I'm going to click this fit parts button really quickly. And in a second here, it's going to pull through and I'll have part numbers, potential part numbers for all the headlights and the different places you might need to go to replace that out. So again, maximizing the information that's at your fingertips, getting it to where, you know, you've got the part number and can make that repair and clean it up as quickly as possible. Now, the data that's here, everything is presented. Certainly you can interact with the dashboard, operate with this vehicle real time while you're going. But there's also a reporting suite in the background where you can have a, I'll call it historical report, where it's going to come to you once a day, once a week, once a month. And then there's the opportunity for you as a user to fine tune what we call instant notification or event driven. And that would be about setting some very tight constraints, because even at my stop now, depending on the size of the fleet, I can generate a lot of email, but having it to where as things happen, it would hit your email immediately upon being recognized and give you the opportunity to take action on it. So I know that's a lot. The dashboard can be a busy thing, but again, we want to give you folks today a flavor of the tool. And then, like I say, on Thursday's call, we're going to take a deeper dive. How would I use this? How do I sort and manage the data better to get more effective utilization of it? How do I gain some of these tools? So the daily life, you know, I said it, this is, I walked in 7 this morning, had a coffee, cleaned up things, and either I logged on and looked at that dashboard the way I did, or I went into my email and pulled down my email report. I'm able to scan and review, hey, what's happened since yesterday, right? Identify a truck that's got one of those problems that we need to service. I've got a potential real issue there with the stoplight, the over fueling to the exhaust, everything else. You know, making contact to the driver, whether that's sending a text, making a phone call, utilizing your messaging system, if your Telematics is one of those with that integrated dispatch and messaging capabilities. Connecting with our dealership next, you know, giving the dealer the VIN number, having them pull up the health report and the two of you discuss it together. You know, yep, you asked the questions, great, he says it is, I understand. You know, it changes the conversation, right? So much of my past life was spent on the phone with service departments across 2 countries, begging them to please put a truck on a laptop so that I know what's wrong with it. Do I got to rent this gentleman a truck? Do I got to put him up in a hotel? What do I got to do? That whole conversation goes away, right? We've read it. We understand what we have to do. I can take action faster and not service fail the customer waiting on that product, and I can clean things up. Shop foreman, now they've got all this information from the write-up team. They know who it is they're going to want to tie that with. They're going to look back at that history. We're going to eyeball things. We're going to make an informed assessment and get to the back parts counter long before your truck ever hits the door. We looked and we saw it's probably the doser. If we've had the right conversation, now we go back to the parts counter with that part number I showed you is where we get, hey, do we have this in stock? We don't have it here at ours, but our sister location has one. Great, let's get it on the shuttle truck and get it to me. Neither one of us got it. Let's talk to the Cummins distributor. Let's get this thing and get this knocked out. Your driver makes their final deliveries. They roll by the dealership at the end of the day. Your customers got taken care of today. And now it's at the dealer who already did the work and they have the parts, they get the service and they bang this thing out faster than they ever would have without having the technology in the tool of our hands. I know it seems too good to be true in some ways. I'm telling you, this is how for the last 4 years we've been working within our dealer service departments to optimize how things are. And again, I said it earlier, Regional had the foresight to become an adopter of this technology. They also adapted and adopted to this new way of working, and they leverage our tools with their ideal lease fleet and with customers like you every day to make this experience actually happen. So there's kind of 5 things that can come through out of OnCommand Connection. Some of them requiring that it is the factory installed device to get those insights. OCC, if you are an LT and RH, all right, well, that's where I'm going to see where the truck has been and how did it get there. I'm going to have the data granularity from our device to draw the map and show you where it was. Where using one of the partners, we're going to be able to show in a disjointed way where it is at any given point in time. The safety and efficiency around your drivers, the hard braking, harsh acceleration, cornering, that kind of stuff. Again, when it's the factory installed device, OCC is going to be a place where you can see some of that, but that primarily will reside in your third-party provider system because that was what they optimized around. What's wrong with my truck? Certainly, we just showed you. I'm home base for that. Seeing those faults, looking at how we've tiered them up, getting you to the descriptions, moving to the how do I fix it, getting into the fault code action plans, having access to the service information, the parts list, and then finally the dealer and repair locator system. How do I clean this thing up? Those are the pieces really central to OnCommand Connection. So kind of a restatement of everything I've said over the last 40 minutes, give or take. OnCommand Connection, because of our partnerships, we read and interpret fault codes from all manufacturers. All of us had to become OBD heavy duty compliant in 2010. All right. Some of you may have a few trucks older than that, but generally speaking, everything you could own and bring to me, we're going to be able to handle. We're connected with all the major telematics providers. And honestly, we're connected with some relatively small niche players also. We have responsibility across our product line. We can take this entire discussion, and if I were talking to some school districts, their problem on a bus looks exactly like it does for us in a truck, but the impact's pretty different, right? So we're connected into those segments that we need to be. The fault code action plans I showed you, hopefully you saw, we take this stuff, we boil it down into simple terms, give you the ability to prioritize what's got to be handled right now. I didn't say it, but the dashboard I walked through, that was built with what's called an adaptive design. So it's not something where we made a website and now we got a phone app that's only on Android. What do I do with my iPhone or vice versa, all that. That web page can be opened on any device and it will reconfigure itself to the form factor. So I can have it on my laptop, I can roll it onto a tablet, and I can open it up on my phone, get to that same symptoms, same fixes, same data anywhere for any truck in the fleet. Then we have multiple back-end integrations. Our databases can connect into fleet management and TMS systems, allowing you to take, and like I say, take those service soons and work to schedule that into those next PMs. Adding it to the ROs is going to happen. We have the APIs to do integrations into other back-end systems you may have developed as a customer. And finally, we do integrate with multiple third-party applications, inbound and outbound. OnCommand Connection, like I say, is kind of the flagship face of our connected suite. There's a second sister tool that if you have national operations and you work with a number of stores, we'd certainly want you to consider. It's not the point of the call today, but we want you to understand the environment, and that's called International 360. And it really comes into the third piece of what we do. And I know I've said this in one form or another, but the tools are about making the hard to find visible and taking the challenging technical stuff that's happening here and making it much easier to understand. And finally, we want to make it actionable. So within OCC, it's finding the vendors. If you know you're going to one of our dealers, International 360 is where you work with a digital tool that opens a repair order in that dealer's DMS system and gives you, the dealer, and us as International a common place to go to. We're all going to be singing off the same hymnal on what happens in the course of fixing that truck. be that waiting for it to arrive, doing triage, ordering parts, whatever it may be. It's going to be visible in one place for everybody to know exactly what it is that's going on, how we're driving to affect that, and what we do to get that vehicle out of the shop faster. So OCC, having the health status of your fleet and what needs to be done. I-360, I know I got a problem. Where's the truck? Did it get to the store? I'm not having to call 3 times a day, read a bunch of emails. The estimates all being located in one place so I can see the items that our customer pay and understand where it is. Again, fully integrated with that data that's been coming into OnCommand Connection. And then the final piece, and I talked again on the LT and RH product truck, that N2 controller we released on our December release to the dealers, what we call intelligent fleet care. A very fast talk about what this is. Fleet health monitoring, the first bullet point of that is taking the OCC and skinning it down further. It's like the easy button for OnCommand Connection. We're going to focus on 4 very tight buckets, provide a once a week email. If you have a decentralized operation, you're reliant on a number of managers doing the right thing. It's the easy way to say, you got an email on Monday, it's now next Monday, why didn't you do something? Advanced preventive maintenance. Instead of simply relying on a graph that says I do my oil change on this many hours or this many miles, we're going to take and publish reporting to you, looking at how that truck's actually used, looking at its fuel efficiency, idle time, other factors that mean you may get to go longer between oil changes, or you might want to tighten it up. We don't want you to over maintain or under maintain. Advanced fuel analytics, giving you the insights into both the driver's behaviors that affected fuel economy, kicking it out of cruise, overriding the AMT to put it in the gear I want, and also looking at, are there faults that potentially could be causing you not to get the fuel economy you could out of that truck. TPMS integration. Our new TPMS system is fully integrated into the dashboard of the vehicle where the driver can see it and reports in on OnCommand Connection. So having an alert, again, potentially an event-driven email come to you, calling out that I am at low or critical low tire pressure, and being able to click something and see all the pressures and all the temperatures across the tires on the vehicle, whether you've got super singles or running traditional tandems, having that visible to you to save you that cost of the breakdown of the tire. Over-the-air programming, where we just finished a limited pilot with one of the mega fleets on OTA on the X15 with Cummins. We've been doing some OTA work with our own A26 for some time. The customer can nominate a programmer. You'll be able to send current calibrations to your fleet remotely. You can also control some customer given parameters. Everything handled within the dashboard of the truck for the driver. At the end of their drive, when they set the parking brake, they'll hear an audible tone. It will tell them on the dash there's a performance update. Are you in a safe place? Can you accept it? They use the dashboard to say, yes, I'm good. And then it installs that and keeps that truck current for the best reliability and highest efficiency you can get. And then the final piece of that intelligent fleet care is what we call gateway integration. That's where we take the N2 controller and use it like a universal cable box. You know, imagine if you were running Spectrum to get your cable television in the house. You got upset with them, made a decision to change to DirecTV, and you didn't have to change any equipment. That's where we're heading. And I talked earlier about JB Hunt and those folks challenging us to reduce the number of cell phone plans in their vehicle. This is how we get there. The data frequency and the data quality has been proofed out by 6 different telematics partners as meeting all their requirements for their routing, where is the truck, all that traditional suite of operational improvements and the compliance pieces for that. So giving you the ability to speed your time to in-service your new vehicles and reduce your cost of not installing that third-party hardware. So that brings us to really the last slide, to a call for action. So we need to think about connect. Does your fleet have telematics? Are you using a product from one of our integrated partners? If yes, fantastic. We get to skip straight to enroll, and the team at Regional can help you get on. If not, certainly we'd have you consider Geotab a solution. The Regional sales team would be happy to walk through, again, that product, do a demo for what it can return to you, and show how it connects into OCC. And if you're needing a tractor, we've got the factory installed hardware and the LT and the RH, and it comes with 5 years of service included with that intelligent fleet care package we just talked about. Medium duty customers, if I've got any, That same hardware and same capability is coming to that class of product late fall this year. So we've got some time to integrate that. We haven't sorted all the details out. Engineering's got to finish up a few minor things, but we will be able to provide those same benefits on the medium duty and the vocational class trucks late fall. Enrollment, and we didn't talk cost, and that's because there isn't a cost. Access to OnCommand Connection is free. If you showed up with your own data, we're not charging you to give it back to you in such a way that you can do something about it. So there's nothing standing in the way for working with the regional team to get signed up and using it. And then most importantly is engagement. You know, no differently than a physical tool in the toolbox. If I don't learn how to use it, I don't become comfortable with it, I don't bring it to bear when I got a problem, we're not going to get there. So after you get enrolled, you get things flowing in, certainly we want you to show your team the tool, work through it. The more people use it, the more comfortable they are with it, the more likely you are to start realizing those gains that Reyes Holdings and Annalise was able to tell us. Get confused? There's help documents embedded in every page of OnCommand Connection. You're a click away from a PDF that explains every element on the page. And then barring that, as I said, call us. The regional team works in OCC every single day. Our team at our 800 number, we work with clients every single day. We are absolutely here to help you to make sure that you gain the most benefit you can out of the efforts on this we've done.